Hello everyone, this is Dave from TZR, and you just hit your
checkpoint
for the week of February 18th, 2017. Stand by for last week's gaming news right now. First up, and this is a long one, Valve has finally decided to axe the well-intentioned but ultimately flawed Steam Greenlight program. Steam Greenlight first made its way onto Steam in August of 2012, and the main idea behind it was to distribute games based on popularity. The more votes a game had, the more likely it would be published onto the Steam storefront, which, especially back in 2012, was a prestigious badge of honor for fledgling indie developers. It was a good idea until it was put into practice. It ended up setting the bar so low that being an indie dev on Steam is no longer something to gloat about. Your game had to be pretty special to be featured on the Steam front page beforehand. Nowadays, just about anyone can get their game published on Steam with a little bit of upfront cash and voting manipulation. And when games are greenlit, they tend to be not so great. In fact, the floodgates have opened so much that nearly 40% of Steam's entire games library was released in 2016 alone. Note that this figure doesn't include any movies or DLC, by the way. Steam Greenlight will be replaced by a program called Steam Direct. The main function of Steam Direct is to bring some means of legitimacy to would-be game developers hoping to use Steam services. It will require them to provide some company paperwork, tax details, before being allowed to distribute their games on the platform. Valve likens this to the process of applying for a bank account, so to speak. Furthermore, Steam Direct will require a recoupable application fee, quote-unquote, which is intended to decrease the noise in the submission pipeline. This amount has not been decided on yet, as they have noted that the developer responses range from anywhere between $100 to $5,000. Personally, I have to agree with Jim Sterling on the idea of it being $500. It's just enough to dissuade people looking for a quick buck, but not so much that it deters legitimate indie developers. Regardless, there is already skepticism about this new program, so hopefully Valve plans this out a little bit more before launching. Next up, over the weekend, Nintendo announced via YouTube that they would be releasing a timed demo for Splatoon 2 on the Nintendo Switch from March 24th to the 26th. The second global test fire will only be available in 6 separate 1-hour intervals over 3 days. Specific times can be found on thezeroreview.com. Pretty sure this is one of the first times that Nintendo has done a public beta for a game. This is a very encouraging sign that Nintendo is embracing some of the better practices of today's gaming industry. Next up, and in more Nintendo news, a few days ago it was announced via YouTube that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild will be receiving a Season Pass. The Season Pass will have 3 separate planned releases, one at release, one over the summer, and one during the holidays. At this point, the content that we will be getting in each release is pretty vague, with the real eyebrow raiser being that hard mode will be included in the summer release. Yes, it seems that Nintendo, like Deep Silver before it with Metro Last Light, is attempting to sell us the hard mode of a game. Put on top of that there doesn't appear to be individual pricing for the different content packs, and we have a rather unpopular move from Nintendo. If you want to see Alex Shock and I weigh in on all of this, feel free to check out both of our articles on thezeroreview.com right now. Last up, Xbox appears to be gearing up for a big E3 press conference this year. Microsoft announced on the official Xbox Twitter account that the Xbox E3 2017 conference would be held at 2 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday, June 11th. The tweet suggests that Microsoft will have some quote-unquote big news to share with us. Considering that the attached picture on the tweet is from the Project Scorpio reveal last year, it's pretty safe to say that Project Scorpio will be taking the center stage. Head of Xbox Phil Spencer has also been talking about Xbox getting a few more first-party titles this year, so we're bound to see a few of those games alongside the Scorpio. Also, head of Xbox marketing Aaron Greenberg tweeted out confirming an Xbox Fan Fest that will be hosted at E3. What this Fan Fest will be about is unclear, but it is clear that Xbox is preparing for a heck of a presence at E3 this year. So Splatoon 2 is the big Nintendo Switch game that will be launching this summer, but how exactly will this game perform with new players? Will it be the next Rocket League, or will it be a Battleborn? Find out what we think in this week's episode of the TZR podcast. Link is in the description. Now onto 4 pieces for your reading pleasure on thezeroreview.com right now. Number 1, Autumn takes a look at We Are Chicago, a first-person narrative-driven adventure game that takes place in the south side of Chicago, known for being an area with high rates of crime, and tackles issues such as gang violence and trying to thrive in an area that constantly works against you. Is the game faithful to the environment it places itself in? Find out in Autumn's review. Number 2, and Autumn isn't quite done yet, she also reviewed The Flame in the Flood, a roguelike survival game where you play as a young girl named Scout, who, along with her dog, must sail long flooded lands to reach the source of a radio signal, stopping when possible to replenish and craft supplies. Number 3, Shane reviews Semispheres, a puzzle game giving players control over 2 characters with each thumbstick that must work together to reach a goal marker. Is this 2-hour game worth your time? Find out in Shane's review. Number 4, YouTuber Metal Jesus Rocks recently published a video detailing his dream games for the Nintendo Switch. So I decided to put together a list of games that I would like to see on the Switch, either due to my personal love for the series, or just its potential to perform well on the Switch in general. Or both. Okay, so that about wraps it up for this week. If you like this video, then please give us a like, and subscribe to see more content from the TZR team. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.